Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at an up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game they played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Hi, this is just a quick video about me. So what is your name, age, and race? My name is Henry Zhang. I've just turned 20 last September, and my race is Zerg and Asian. What do you do for a living? Well, right now I'm a full-time student, actually, studying at the University of Toronto. And that means I can just play StarCraft 2 part-time for fun. So that's that. Tell us the most interesting fact about yourself that you can think of. Let me see. Well, when I was in high school, I was really interested in sneakers, actually. Not sure too many StarCraft 2 players would be, but yeah, so I used to just sell or collect, buy, sell, trade Jordans. And in my high school, there's not many people with Jordans, but by the end of grade 12, I managed to sell a lot to my friends, like good prices. It's more of an interesting, so yeah, I guess that could do for that. Describe your playstyle for us. Okay, so my playstyle might be a little bit different, because the way I figure this game is really, it's half mechanical and half mental. So I think for myself, since I'm not a full-time player, if I want to keep up with the best players or people who even play full-time, my option is not to try to grind. I can't grind this amount of games, and I really don't. It's not something I would enjoy anyway. So what I do instead is try to win on the mind games part, or the mental stage. So what that means is when I play, I tend to go for strategies that could be unorthodox, so it's stuff I would prepare ahead of time. So if I just study my opponent a little bit and know his playstyle, I would be able to, and I generally do for any players anyways, I would just go for strategies that would work well against them, and then in a series prepare to mix things up so that if I were the opponent, I would guess that Hendralisk could do this next time, or because he did something wacky in game 1, not be able to tell. So just play depending on the map, the player, and the playstyle that I would assign to them. So for example, if I were playing minigun, I would lucky go for that quick 3-base macro style with a lot of very stargates. So what I would do in that case would go for like Hydronitis and Queen something, then fall back and then try to play macro the next game, just mixing stuff up. But also I feel I do have solid mechanics, so I can fall back and play the standard macro style if I wish, which is nice. Why do you deserve the chance to be the next breakout player? Well, I think as for myself, I would put myself as one of the better players in North America, but I don't really have too much exposure, so I haven't been able to stream for a long time because of bad internet, you know, Canada and all. So recently I've actually gotten good internet, but because I wasn't able to qualify for WCS, which is another one of those things that prevent player exposure for, if you don't qualify, that is. So yeah, without being WCS, I would like to get as much exposure as I could. And I see this as one of the best ways to do it in terms of any tournaments, because there's not too many, and the amount of work that Fear Dragon puts is very impressive. I've been following the season 1 actually, and it seems to me this would be something I would like to take part of. So if you just let me in, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do very well in the tournament. And also explain to the fans, which is more important, how, just about me, how I play, how to, if you like my playstyle or like me, then you can how to follow my progress in StarCraft 2 player, etc. So what does StarCraft mean to you? Well, ever since I played this game, it's just been for fun usually, and I was able to, it's really fun to see myself grow as a player, because when I started competing, let's say, I'd like to say around the summertime of 2012-ish, so it's almost been 2 years, or like a year and a half actually, and in the start I wasn't doing too well actually. If I open my match history, it looks like the earliest games that I have for tournaments would be for an MLG qualifier, which I didn't really qualify for, but I did beat Korean player Daisy T-Gun there, so that just signified to me that I should practice more. It's the summer, wasn't working, so just spend a few hours every day on the computer, hone my skills, so next time in tournaments I could do better. And then following that was ESEA, and I did fairly well in all my matches, I believe. And then after this period, I was able to play qualifiers and do pretty well in qualifiers. Well enough that I could, just qualify for something. Like I qualified for IPL 4, and sorry, not IPL 4, IPL 5, IPL 6. What else? Home Story Cup, just stuff like that. Being able to travel to tournaments is pretty fun too, because normally I wouldn't just, like buy a plane ticket to MLG. Well, I've only actually been to 2 MLGs. I should regret not going to more because they were really fun. Really nice experience as a competitive player. So yeah, like I wouldn't buy a ticket to MLG in the middle of the school year, or just to visit there, because I have no friends in, let's say, North Carolina. So being able to travel around is really nice. So StarCraft, in a way, I've been able to push myself, challenge myself, see what I can do in tournaments, and it's been a neat experience so far, since I've never played competitively in the past, or even thought of doing so. Every game I play, I just play for fun, not too serious. Just I was able to improve really quickly in StarCraft. That been able to join a team and compete in tournaments. Yeah, so StarCraft means a lot to me, obviously, and I hope it doesn't keep declining popularity. And I just want to try my best not to get into WCS first of all. Oh my gosh, WCS. And just push myself to do the best I can in the tournaments. Hopefully this one could, because I wanna play and show what I'm capable of. So yeah, thanks very much for listening to my brief intro. I hope I can participate in this tournament for sure. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Breaking Out, a show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 20-year-old Canadian Zerg player who's shown his skill against the top players time and time again. Representing Team Complexity, please give a warm welcome to Hendralisk Zhang. How are you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks very much for introducing me.
I can tell, man, you're like jumping up and down. Or like, I know that.
Excited to talk about myself and just talk to you about anything just for this show. Yeah.
All right, well then let's kind of go ahead and get into it as soon as possible. But first I do want to give a quick intro to anyone who's tuning in for the first time. Breaking Out again is a show about North American StarCraft 2 players that I feel that you need to know about because they're really, really skilled, they're underrated, and Yeah, so basically the format for the show is that Thursday, which is going to be today, we are actually doing the interview. So the interview will just be like around an hour long, and we'll sit down with the player, kind of get a feel for their history, their thoughts on the game, I guess their future as a player, etc. You can kind of learn a little bit more about them. Then tomorrow on Friday, we're going to be covering 3 of their games and get a feel for their actual playstyle in all the 3 different matchups. Then on Saturday, we're actually going to be covering an awesome game that Henry over here has actually submitted to us, as
Oh,
well as
I
playing.
remember.
Yeah, you still got to get those to me. No worries though. You have a little bit of time. But yeah, so then on Saturday we're going to be doing that. We're going to be playing an arcade game actually with Henry, as well as a couple of other guests. We've had on a bunch of other people like Rifkin, Boisterous SC2, Current TV, Tempo Starcraft, Ryan Shooter. And then we'll actually be jumping into the actual games themselves and doing a little bit of replay analysis with Hendralisk. And that's actually a really fun day. It's actually one of my favorite days because that's the day that I actually just like learn a ton from the player. But, that's all later. Right now, today, we could just do the interview. So, I mean, Hendralisk, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. I already asked how you're doing, so I'm just going to jump straight into the first question. Like, how the heck did you get started in esports? Like, did you just randomly stumble upon StarCraft one day and was like, this looks really cool? And I don't know, you came across videos of Boxer or something and just got really into it? What happened?
It's funny you mentioned that because that's sort of like what happened. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So basically, getting into esports was, I guess, for me around the time I started playing competitively. Because before that, I just sometimes watch tournaments or play casually. Just you wouldn't have heard of me otherwise. I mean, so I got introduced to this game at the end of high school. So like about a year after the game came out, and it was just my friends who played, and they said, "Hey, you should play this," because I used to play StarCraft Brood War arcade games like Poker Defense or Fastest Map Possible,
Oh, man.
and with the same guys. I mean, so they got the game and they insisted that I play it too because I might be good at it, and yeah, around then is just when I picked up the game. So after playing a few seasons on the ladder, I decided, hey, I can sign up because I'm beating some of the NA players down here or who do sign up for tournaments. So why not me? And then, yeah, from then on, just everything just unfolded by itself, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in your application video that was sort of back in the summer of 2012. I
Oh,
think.
really?
Hold on. I think that's what you said in your application video.
For what? Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, when you started I think you said like you started getting into competitive
Oh,
StarCraft
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Around then is when I really started to sign up for tournaments.
yeah.
I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, it doesn't mean I sign up for every tournament possible. In fact, I just mostly had to sign up for the ones that were nice for me or convenient for me time-wise.
Yeah.
So, and usually I did well in them, so that encouraged me more.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Now, one thing that you actually also mentioned in your application video was back in high school. I kind of asked like, what was something interesting about yourself, and you gave something really really interesting. That you actually used to collect and sort of sell and buy sneakers in high school. Like,
Yeah, just a random fact that I thought of. I mean, usually when someone asks
yeah,
what's interesting about you, I can't really make up my mind.
yeah,
But
yeah.
at that time, just
No,
decided.
that's really cool. Like, what kind of sneakers were you selling? Like, how much money did you make on that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Uh, Towards the end of high school, or starting from grade 11, anyways, was when I was interested in mostly sneakers called Air Jordan. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I used
remember them.
to.
I remember them.
Yeah, they're actually the most. They have the most market share in the U.S. for like basketball shoes. So
Oh,
that speaks very much about the brand itself. I mean, the name, just
yeah.
yeah, all the kids know it and they want their mom to buy it. And so the brand, actually the brand nowadays is more catered towards that kind of um, uh, people. But yeah, anyways,
Hmm.
I had a interest in them, and so I bought some pairs just for myself, like as a collection sort of, and to wear and whatever.
Uh
All
huh.
like all cool and stuff. But in hindsight, I'd say like don't do stuff just to feel cool, whatever, because I was more interested in the shoes themselves and
Mm-hmm.
not so much anything else. And I realized people in Canada, or people in my school anyways, they don't really there might be a demand for them, but
Mm-hmm.
the supply here is really bad, as in you can't get some of the
Oh.
stuff because they're not sold anymore in stores, and also it's really expensive. Everything's more expensive here in general, but Jordans are for sure. So yeah, I just decided to look around. Maybe instead of collecting, I can also sell some of the collection. So, just get
Mm-hmm.
more spare change back and get more for myself. So I ended up like buy, selling, and trading a lot, online or locally. I remember in grade 12, I met up with like 60 people in person to like exchange stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the tale.
That's pretty cool. Did you ever like extend your interest in the sneakers like outside of Air Jordans, or was it pretty much just like Air Jordans? Like I know that I see a couple of players like who have like these really cool like I think Liquid Hero has like Team Liquid sneakers, and then I
Uh,
think like
those are like
yeah.
Converses, pretty
Oh
popular.
really? Okay,
But yeah, I was just mostly focused on Jordans,
got it.
specifically the retros. So there's like signature numbered ones, and there's
Hmm.
also ones for like basketball and whatever. So
Oh
the
got it.
numbered ones were the ones that were released every year in his career, starting from 1985 with the ones. So
Hmm.
those are generally worth more too. I mean, they are for sure, and more sought after by collectors. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I guess moving on back to like StarCraft, I want to ask about your sort of career so far in StarCraft. What do you feel has been your biggest achievement in StarCraft 2? I mean, you've definitely been around the block at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think I haven't really had the chance to go to any of the big events. So I would say it would be either online performance or a local land, which I'm easily able to attend. I suppose the most I've ever won in one sitting would be the LAN ETS last year. The LAN ETS 2013. And that was like $1,600. Usually I do well in the smaller ones, but the bigger ones I just really haven't had a chance to go. Uh, Partly because I was on a smaller team back then, and also back then that's when things mattered for like WCS. So around WCS Canada, well, this is going back a bit more, but around
Hmm.
WCS Canada was when, um, like that WCS led to the next one where they seeded any players into the Premier Division. So I didn't really perform well at WCS Canada. Um, some players didn't really do well either, like Kane and Coma. Massa didn't even want to play it, or he didn't. I don't know. So yeah, just that led up to not being invited to WCS, and WCS is the biggest tournament, so that was really not so great. And going to MLGs, as I said, being on a smaller team was harder. Sure, I went to like two MLGs total. My first MLG actually got to the winners in the open bracket where it seeds into the championship, and I lost, so that was bad. But I beat like Ghost User, Dizzy here, Kawaii Rice, and whatever, and that was my first big land. So I was happy to just take that as a learning experience. And IPL 4, IPL 5, um, or sorry, IPL 5 and IPL 6, I qualified for both, but I couldn't go to either. One was because I had an exam on IPL 5, and IPL 6 was canceled. So winning the NA qualifiers didn't really help me there. But at
Yeah.
least I won it. That's what I say to myself. So um, yeah, like I've only been to two MLGs thus far. Haven't really done that well in them, or a lot, a lot. The performance is very lackluster to me, so I'm disappointed in
Hmm.
those. Just want to use them as learning, not to get mad or like kick myself every day. And yeah, I would say the greatest accomplishment, or going back to your question, would be the LAN ETS I won, or the
Hmm.
online tournament experiences I've gathered so far, so I could improve as a player. But yeah, it's pretty much it.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, you kind of listed out like that you there have been a lot of events that you like have qualified for or come close to qualifying for, but you weren't quite able to attend. But I mean, of the events that you have gone, like what's what's been your favorite event? Not necessarily maybe in terms of
Oh,
your results, but like
yeah.
also just in terms of how much you actually enjoyed the actual experience.
Okay, well, so far the best the most enjoyable sorry event in my
Hmm.
opinion would be the Home Story Cup, and that's the tournament I attended, which I probably did the worst in because I lost to Snoot and Hasselhoff in the group stages, and I was just immediately out. Though I did beat some good players in the qualifier, like Polk.
Hmm.
Always gonna
Yeah.
brag that because I was really shocked actually. I had to play at an internet cafe, since my PC wasn't working well at home.
Oh man.
The owner was nice enough to give me like the free time, because I've already passed like 1 hour or 2 hours that I got. He was like watching side on my side, cheering me on. Uh, but yeah, as for the tournament itself, Home Story Cup was definitely the most enjoyable. People say that, but you can't. But you gotta be there, like person to really enjoy it. Really had fun.
Hmm.
It's like the one tournament that's not really a tournament, like more of a really relaxed atmosphere. There's
Hmm.
just more. It's not stressful at all. I guess the tournament itself is, if you want to keep going, but the atmosphere is really relaxed,
Yeah.
enjoyable, and also it was in Europe or Germany actually. So
Hmm.
I've never been to Europe. That was my first time, and got to get some Europe travel experience. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was really nice to visit the place. It was a small town. It's the same place every time, I believe.
Yeah.
So if anyone's watching this, definitely you should try to qualify and attend. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I also did want to ask sort of like you're still pretty young. I mean, like you're still in school and everything.
I'm
And
not that old yet.
huh?
No, yeah, I'm not quite that old yet.
Yeah, exactly. You're still pretty young. I mean, you're still in school. How is actually like going to some of these events like I know that you've only been able to make it to a couple of MLGs and like you managed to go for this Home Store Cup and everything. How did balancing that out work? Um,
Uh, Usually I have to miss like a few lectures
mhm,
or maybe a quiz or something. But if I have to miss a test or an exam, I really can't go unless uh
mhm.
professor accommodates me, which they usually don't. So
Yeah.
I just can't go. For example, the first MLG where the Kestrel, sorry, where the
Yeah.
Kestrel players came, I should have been, I should have attended
Oh.
that one, but I couldn't. Same was with the IPL 5 that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
So those two were the biggest events that I couldn't have attended. Now some NA players attend like all the MLGs probably because they live in the States and it's a lot easier to
Mhm.
go. Where I live in Canada with the cost.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, for me,
Nice.
I really don't attend all the tournaments anyways. So
Mhm.
the ones that, so that means the ones that I do miss just hurts me more as a player, like the growth.
Mhm.
And yeah, the MLG and IPL 5 were the biggest ones I missed because of school. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it seems pretty much okay. I mean, like I just went to LAN ETS like 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
it turned out fine. And usually tournaments are gonna be during the weekends, right?
Mhm.
The ones like IEM are during weekdays, or more so. I mean, it starts like in the middle of the week.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
since most are around the weekends, and I try to I try to just pray and hope there's nothing there on that day, pretty much.
I guess that's all you can do in the end.
Yeah, what can you do? Like I'm still a full-time student.
Yeah, definitely. So I did also want to ask, kind of going back to a little bit of your experience at Homestar Cup. What kind of environment do you feel like you play best in? I mean, is it the online cups? Is it the like LAN ETS, like the small LAN tournaments? Is it the relaxed atmosphere of a Homestar Cup, or is it like an MLG? Like, where do you feel you perform best?
Um, for some reason, every time I play in a live setting, when it gets to the matches that matter, they
Hmm.
just perform really poorly, such as the LAN ETS last weekend, where in fact I was in the losers finals versus Desro, and I won the first game, and then I was in an advantageous spot. I would say the next two games, but I
Hmm.
managed to lose them somehow, which managed to lose me the losers final match and made me get third.
Hmm.
So um, I think of course, like most players, it would be best to just play from home. That
Hmm.
would, that's the most comfortable place you can ever be in my opinion. So, uh, but at a tourney, if there's people watching you, cheering you on, for instance, that seems to be a contributing factor to how well you play, I feel. Though I guess on the flip side, if you're a person who gets really nervous, that could be detrimental. But for me, I
Hmm.
think, uh, some of the players, just a side note, some of the players have been competing for years, right, in other games
Hmm.
such as Warcraft or Broodor, stuff like that, which I don't have the experience for, which means I'd be more inclined to struggle during the live events because of inexperience.
Hmm.
So I feel that's actually what's affecting me in tournaments. Um, just from such as even WCS Canada years ago and
Hmm.
demos that I've been to. Uh, I think to myself, I won't get affected by nerve issues. Like, who gets nerve issues? I used to laugh at that. And then, in hindsight, after bad performances at a tournament, I think, hey, that's exactly what happened to me, even though I never thought it could. So um, it's more vulnerable than I thought. And I guess uh, I would like to welcome the MLG kind of setting, or
Hmm.
even the Sorry Cup kind of setting, so I can be more experienced and do well in the future. But for sure, home would be most comfortable. And I'm
Hmm.
not really too much comfortable, even though I think I am for the big tournament stages. Because I guess subconsciously or something, I just don't perform as well as I like to.
Hmm.
And yeah, but that's something I'm hoping to change in the future so that I can say home and MLG.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you're not exactly even alone in this. Like in terms of nerve issues, even at like the top level, there are people who struggle with it. Like Liquid Hero, I think is like the big example that
Yeah,
comes
but
to
if
mind.
he can say that, but he still performs, he's Liquid Hero, right?
That is fair. But yeah, cool. So I also did want to ask, like, I mean, you've obviously been able to travel like to Europe and whatnot to something like, for example, Home Story Cup. You've traveled to some MLGs. Clearly, your parents must have like at least it must have at least occurred to them that you were going off and doing something. How familiar are they with your involvement in esports and kind of like how good you are at StarCraft?
Oh, my dad actually searched me up, I think, and he like read into things such as for Lenny TS even. He was like,
Mm.
"Oh, you lost the Bez, bro." I was like, yeah.
Oh man.
My mom, on the other hand, is really against gaming in general, so I
Hmm.
really don't try to talk to her much about it. But as long as like I'm in school and not like dropping out to sell drugs and play StarCraft, that kind of stuff, I'll be okay. This season, this is improving. So anytime I say like if I'm going to a tournament, she'll be like, you shouldn't be going to a tournament, stuff like that. Just traditional. If I were,
Hmm.
uh, maybe if I wasn't Asian, like Chinese, it would be different. But yeah, my dad seems okay. Just my mom is disagreeing, but I don't blame her. It's different attitudes from when she grew up. And
Hmm.
I mean, like who cares about me more than my parents, right? Like my mom. So just try to honor them and abide by their rules and stuff.
Hmm. So have they been pretty supportive, like of you at least going for some of these opportunities? Like, I mean, when you explain to them like, "Hey, I'm going to this tournament. I have an opportunity to like win some money." Are they more understanding of that, or is it not really like an issue of like?
Oh, my mom. For my mom, she
Hmm.
says like the money you can earn whatever, and it's not like I'm winning as much as a hero or something or a
Yeah,
day job.
yeah.
So whatever I can get, usually she just wants me to like don't not develop really bad habits and
Hmm.
like that instead of
Yeah.
the little prize money I can get. So that's more important to her. And my dad doesn't really talk about it. So yeah,
Hmm.
I would
Okay.
say uh, if I were either more successful or like
Hmm.
have different or have parents that have different attitudes, they'd be more supportive. But as is, not really too much, and I don't
Hmm.
really fault them or blame or anything. In fact, I'm the one who's like playing, so uh,
Hmm.
it would be on me if anything bad happens.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that also. Like, they want you to focus on school and everything, kind of like as I'm sure most parents do. And I mean, speaking of which, like you are attending University of Toronto. Like, what kind of degree are you actually pursuing?
Actually, I'm studying business in a econ
Mhm.
focused degree. Uh,
Okay.
Things are starting to get tougher now, so I have less time to practice. In fact, I haven't been able to since I came back from the NETS. But I hope I can get some today, which is what I always say. But yeah, I hope I can get some today.
It's gonna be hard, man. There's IEM going on today. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to watch it.
Yeah, me too. You must be um eager to finish asking me the question.
Oh no, dude, I'm enjoying this. I'll watch the VODs for that anytime later on. This takes priority for me. But yeah, cool. So I mean, do you know kind of what you want to do like after graduation then?
Ideally, uh, for a career, I like to do something that involves helping people, maybe like teaching or something, uh, which isn't exactly what I'm studying, but there's a lot of times people don't do what they're studying. So
Hmm.
it just depends, like what happens. I mean, opportunities I can get in the workplace or
Hmm.
wherever, and go from there. I guess everyone's just like trying to do that. I guess. Just have to make
You're,
the
s-
best of what you can get.
and you're still pretty early in your college career. I think you're a sophomore now, probably.
I don't know what that is. I should say, but
Second
I'm
year?
not
Are you
from.
second year in school, college, or
I'm
University
like
of Toronto?
2.5.
2.5 years. Okay, so yeah, you're around like a second or third year then. Okay, yeah, so you still have some time to kind of
Yeah, I
figure
mean,
stuff out.
it's not like I'll still be in school at 30 or something.
Yeah. um, yeah, but cool. So I mean, how has actually been balancing StarCraft with school? I mean, you kind of mentioned like you're having less and less time these days. Is it
Yeah.
still manageable?
As for playing, I think for myself, I've been lucky enough not to have to grind games and use that as the sole way to improve. Rather, I could say for if I'm traveling to school, just think about different things and maybe watch some games. Just watching and thinking about it helps me more than actually playing. So
Hmm.
when I do play, it's just for mechanics, like to keep up with my brain, like what I'm thinking. So
Hmm.
I don't really think that needs to mass game. But ideally, if you want to be successful, you should be talented and like mass game, do it and spend your time efficiently while you're spending a lot of time. So I'm pretty sure that's what like the top Koreans are. But
Hmm.
yeah, so balancing StarCraft in school for me isn't that that much of a difficult task. I'm more worried about like securing a job after I graduate. I mean, of course, it'd be nice to improve more, but
Hmm.
as it, I feel like the level of play. I mean, just about a month or so ago, I beat Jack G in a best of three, sent that replay in actually. So it's
Hmm.
not going too bad. I feel.
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, you kind of even mentioned in your application video that you feel there's two like big aspects of playing. It's there's the mechanical aspect and then there's the mental aspect. And you kind of said that you like to focus on the mental aspect just because you
Yeah.
have less time than say someone who's full time in esports.
Uh-huh, correct.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I'll kind of go more into that a little bit later when we start talking about the actual gameplay and stuff. But
Okay.
when you're trying to play, like the other thing that you said in your application video is that like you really try and play for your own enjoyment. Have you ever had like moments where like I don't know the game became sort of frustrating and you begin to enjoy the game a little bit less? Like has that ever been a problem for you?
That's been more of a problem when I started playing the game because I was learning, and
Mm-hmm.
so as a result, especially early Protoss things they can do is very annoying. And
Yeah.
even more so if the player is like talking to you, like I mean trash talking. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as I gain more experience, I just realized there's no need to get mad. The only thing I get mad at is at myself if I'm losing. But in
Mm-hmm.
game, like if you lose to a certain strategy on ladder, I'll never get angry about it. I just think how can I get around this so I don't lose to it next time? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it, like a fool me once, kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
mm, as a result, I feel that helps me improve faster.
Mm-hmm.
just your attitude is really important. And anything you do, mental is a very big part. Unless maybe you're like a boxer or something. I guess even so, you need to. That's very important too. But yeah, uh, as,
Yeah.
as you said, the game is very enjoyable, and at times, if another race is doing very well, I could think like, hey, I should have started with off this race. Why didn't I do that instead? I'll not get really upset, like
Yeah.
punch my monitor or like strangle a cat.
Yeah, that's good. I do like the way that you kind of seem to be approaching it though, sort of the how do I make sure that I don't lose to this in the future kind of
Yeah,
mentality.
I mean, if you just lose the okay, let's say I do get really angry and upset and
Hmm.
punch my monitor. That's that. If I do that, I still have to get over it next time so I don't break my second monitor. You know?
Yeah,
You
it's
just
that's a
have to
short term
think of
solution.
ways. Yeah, you have to get over that and think of ways to
Hmm.
overcome your difficulties.
Yeah, cool. So I guess kind of shifting topics a little bit. I did want to ask you like what kind of difficulties have you faced trying to be an up and coming player in like the North American scene?
So for myself, I feel I've done pretty well in some aspects, such as playing some online tournaments where I could beat the what's considered the top players in the region. And just as for myself, I was never able to qualify for WCS. Goes back to the WCS Canada, as I mentioned. Uh, Not getting seeded into if you don't get seeded in the first season into the Premier League, you're gonna have to qualify. And if
Hmm.
you want to qualify, you're gonna have to beat Koreans for like the next 2 or 3 seasons. Which is what I did. In fact, if I recall correctly, in the first WCS qualifier, I um I got pretty far. I was like the last foreign player,
Hmm.
and I lost to Com, who was the Zerg that
Yeah.
won WCS China in the same year. And then I lost to Hart in the losers of the Premier qualifier, so I
Hmm.
couldn't get into the Premier. And the next qualifier I played was for Challenger, and I beat um I believe I beat uh, Chinese Terran,
Hmm.
and then I beat Center, the Korean
Hmm.
Terran. I
Yeah.
beat them both like 2-0, I think, and then I lost to Teja. Like what? Okay, and then the next season, I lost to some more Koreans around that level, like Hack or Kesto player Mini. Just
Oh
and
my
I was
god.
never able to qualify. Even this season, I lost to Illusion twice, and that was during when Illusion had a really strong TVZ. Like he beat
Hmm.
Violet, he beat Petraeus, these kind of guys really easily. And I lost to him twice in the qualifiers, so I couldn't really get into it. And then I lost to Czech. Um,
Hmm.
Thus far, I haven't been able to get into WCS. And if you're not in WCS as an NA player, it's really not good for you. So I just hope this season I can get a lucky bracket.
Hmm.
It's happened a lot to some NA players. Well, I just hope it'll happen to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that is like a really unlucky break. I mean, like those are all like Code S players or players who were playing like a Code S like against and beating Code S level
You're
players. Like,
certainly a tough cookie, is what I'll
oh
say.
man, yeah, that's kind of crazy, and that actually does sound really difficult. So, I mean, I'm actually kind of curious what your thoughts are sort of on the changes to the WCS system now for I guess 2014.
It seems pretty good. I mean,
Hmm.
the the qualifiers were they were all like North American players. Just I met the ones that were Korean. So not good for me, of course. But
Hmm.
uh, as for the whole um, as for the whole thing, like for any player, this is great. You can compete amongst the ranks of yourself, like
Hmm.
people amongst, yeah. So that's nice. You don't have to play hack like I did.
Yeah.
These kind of guys, and that gives you as an NA player more chance to qualify.
Hmm.
It does, of course, rely on luck in the bracket as most qualifiers do, but the chances of getting in is a lot higher. And if you do get in, it's a really good help for your
Hmm.
playing career in tournament.
Hmm.
So it's a good change. Even though on paper it looks like all the premier players are still like Koreans or grandfathered or something,
Hmm.
um, getting into challenger now is a lot easier. And if you get lucky in the matchup for like challenger versus whoever can get into premier that way. Like if you play gym or bomber, then bad luck. But if you play someone who's not that good, it could go well for you.
Yeah, definitely. I also kind of want to ask, like, since you haven't been able to make it in WCS like recently or anything, what kind of things have you been doing to try and give yourself more visibility in the scene?
Well, you think that makes me blush because I don't really think I'm doing too much. Uh, Partly it's because of like getting demotivated every time.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, around the end of last year, I took like a 3 month break from StarCraft even, and but
Hmm.
I've gotten back on the horse easily. Yeah, just due to the fact there's like no tournaments, and if you can't get in WCS, then you're doomed. And I wasn't able to stream before, which streaming is
Hmm.
is a big help to maybe just enjoying the game, or whether it be getting more fans or exposure and that kind of stuff. So I couldn't stream before, and I couldn't go to big events before, and I wasn't in WCS, so this kind of stuff is depressing,
Hmm.
and I wasn't really going out of my way to make YouTube videos or yeah. I do like to contribute, or I don't know about contribute, just participate. That's the better word in communities like Team Liquid and Reddit. So
Hmm.
I keep up with the info and like give my own opinions and that kind of jazz. But as far as say streaming or promoting content, I've really never done that. So yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely answers it. I know it's kind of hard to come up with a lot of different ways. I know that like just going to like some LAN events is at least allows you to kind of keep yourself busy and still get your name out there for like at least some of the, I wouldn't say smaller events because like LAN ATS is kind of like a big event. Um, it's although it's not like I guess a premier event, but
It's definitely for like a LAN party, let's
yeah,
say
yeah,
that kind of setting. They say it's the
hmm,
biggest on the East Coast, so uh, yeah.
yeah,
But it's not a tournament where pull or fly in and then
exactly.
take your money and go home. But that's good for people.
It's good for practice, and besides, I mean, you still get to play against
Well,
like
it's good for
really solid
practice,
players.
but
Yeah.
it'd be better to like get a high finish.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you still get to play against like really solid players, like
Yeah, that's
Masa,
for
for
sure.
example. Like, oh my god, that guy.
He's got my number though. Like every logo tournament, I play versus him and I choke, even if I'm ahead and I lose. Sometimes I just get on, but sometimes I choke. And yeah, he has like a really high win rate versus me.
Hmm.
And if I do win series versus him, I
Hmm.
think he'll come back from the losers and beat me. Like stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying. So to me, he's definitely the toughest NA player to play against from experience. Him and QXC. QXC after him.
Yeah, QXC is just super solid. Masa's like he gets in everybody's head. Like he just
Yeah, he's actually been doing really well recently in the
yeah.
tournaments too. WCS, like Shellcraft
Hmm.
2, and
The Ender's Game
MLK.
tournament, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all this quickly adds up, and he finds like first year tuition well paid. Yeah.
Yeah, people are starting to come to their senses about how good Masa is.
Yeah,
Um,
he's definitely. I thought he was really underrated
yeah.
for a long time. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking like he was on the team I was on before,
Hmm.
which was called Nightmares or NMX.
Hmm.
I played him and I was thinking like, hey, this guy's so good. Why don't people know about him? But it's also because he doesn't like do any of the promotions, and he never used to play tournaments either. So there's really
Hmm.
no way of doing so unless you just play him on ladder or you know. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely a good player though.
Yeah, definitely. I guess kind of shifting focus back to you.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your interview. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
What is your kind of normal day look like these days? I mean, walk me through like a normal weekday or a weekend.
Well, school's getting tougher, so usually, um, I have to commute a long time too. So I have to get up and then go to school. Sometimes
Hmm.
if I don't have to go to school, then I don't. But mostly I do, and come back, and then it's like afternoon already to eat,
Hmm.
and then go to the gym or something. Um, and also spend a lot of time on Reddit, like
Hmm.
reading stuff, which I guess is a bad habit, but I'm trying to fix that. Yeah. So just spending time on the internet, or sometimes maybe I have to get home later because like events at school or like something like that. And that just leaves me less time to do whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, nowadays it's been pretty simple. It's pretty much that. I want to sound like a basement dweller kind of thing, but yeah,
You're
pretty much
you're you're in good
busy.
company.
And then if I want to practice, I realize it's already nighttime. I'm tired because I'm
Hmm.
waking up at like 6 every day or 7, and then I just shrug it off and not really get the practice that I probably should be getting. So I'm trying to get more practice time for sure. I think Master's like that way too. Like
Hmm.
him on the last topic, but yeah, not too much exciting. No snowboarding or skydiving right now for me. I'm afraid.
Right now, so you plan on going skydiving soon?
Maybe. Never know.
All right. Well, let's kind of shift focus into actually the next topic, which is your team. So, I mean, you've been on Team Complexity since I think around April of 2013. So it's been almost about a year now. So, I mean, tell
Yeah.
us, how has it been?
Um. Well, before IC2, I really wasn't really on a team before,
Hmm.
so it's all new to me. Just like playing in the tournaments and being on the team has been the best thing I've been on. Well, I haven't been on many, but for sure, because in a few different ways, Complexity, it's a really big established team here in North America,
Hmm.
and being on that gives you like more doors open. You want to like pursue something as like esports kind of thing, and gives you more connections. Like um, I was able to get my friend a Hearthstone key because one of the staff members like had a really big access to the keys. So, I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
a huge deal, but it's always nice to have these kind of I can you can talk to them, I guess, about
Hmm.
anything. Uh, but yeah, so just like connections or um, like name brand being on the teams, people can
Hmm.
expect something from you, uh, and also support they offer, and also the stability. Yeah,
Hmm.
just mostly that, I suppose.
Yeah. So, is that kind of like the main advantage of why you enjoy being on Complexity the most? Is like those kind of connections and like us the doors that open up for you, or is it also like practice partners or anything else?
Well, to be honest, I don't really see like all the good teams calling me at night, like, "Hey, join my team." But yeah, actually, around the time I joined Complexity last year,
Hmm.
um, Cats wanted me to join Root, but I was actually interested in joining Acer, and I contacted them, and
Hmm.
Stella was like, "Hey, you're pretty good, etc., etc." I was asking them if I could be considered like a low cost talent kind of
Hmm.
thing. But after like 2 months of waiting, because their CEO was really slow. In fact, they were so slow. Like I heard Squirtle tried to join them and
Hmm.
gave up waiting, so he
Oh
joined IM.
wow, really?
Yeah, so I think they said I couldn't join at that time, probably because of like no achievements kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like if you want to join, you got to be like a Scarlet kind of thing. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm like okay, that's fair. No, they did make me wait a long.
Hmm.
Not really. No, no hard feelings or anything. That's the way it works. And yeah, and then I just joined Complexity thanks to Sasquatch, who suggested me some team, and they immediately accepted me on like tryouts or like academy kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I'm glad he did that because Complexity is a really good team. And I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, cool. All right. That's a really awesome Complexity. Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, it has a really, really good name, and I'm sure that it does open a lot of doors and gives you a lot of extra opportunities. So, really cool to hear that it's they're treating you well over there. But kind of moving on to I guess what a lot of players consider like the fun part of the interview is talking a little bit more about the gameplay. So, I mean, have you ever played like a World of Warcraft or like any RPG
Uh,
games?
you mean other games?
Like any like RPG games or like Dungeons and
Oh,
Dragons or
RPG.
anything?
Oh, I see like shows about this kind of stuff. Roleplay, I guess, stuff like that. But RPG, the only RPGs I would have played were when I was younger, and they were
Mhm.
handheld games like
Oh,
Pokemon,
got it.
Fire Emblem, stuff like that.
Okay.
but
Well,
nothing
yeah,
like
we're gonna
Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah, we're gonna
Or,
use our imagination for a second, okay? All right.
okay,
So picture with me, okay?
all right,
Close your eyes and just imagine this, all right? So,
okay,
say we're in this crazy different world, clearly just not the world that we're in right now, right? It's not the real world. And in this world, there's a wrestling ring, okay? And you have
but
these
are we in the
two.
Matrix?
It could very well be.
Okay,
Depends on your philosophy on life, all right? But
okay,
in this wrestling ring, we have one person coming out. He is The Rock, like The Rock, as in, the wrestler, The Rock, right?
yeah,
His nickname, The Rock. He's like super buff and super
yeah, I
powerful.
know him.
Yeah, and then in the other corner, we have Dustin Browder come out.
Dustin Browder.
Now Dustin Browder comes out. He's like all, flexing his muscles and everything. His head's super
Wow.
shiny. And he butts heads with The Rock and it just doesn't go well. So, uh, what ends up happening is Dustin Browder is no longer. Dustin Browder is actually the same Dustin Browder that we know of. He is the head of Activision Blizzard and, spearheads a lot of the StarCraft stuff. Open your eyes, Hendralisk. It turns out that Dustin Browder is now incapable of running the StarCraft 2 division, and they actually decide, you know what? We're going to go ahead and recruit from the University of Toronto. There's this really smart kid. His name is Henry Hendralisk.
Okay.
We're gonna replace Dustin Browder with Hendralisk. And man, what do you do with your newfound power in charge of StarCraft? I mean, you can control the way the WCS is run. You can control the game balance. You can control the way pretty much like anything that's Blizzard related around StarCraft is done. So I mean, what kind of changes would you make with that kind of power?
Well, first of all, I would try to consult with like Riot or really or Valve, really popular games that have proven themselves through numbers, and not the declining kind either. So
Mm-hmm.
um, for sure, I would try to implement some changes that would be beneficial for the growth and prosperity of the game, and that would include stuff to boost the casual audience or sorry the fan base, like people who
Mm-hmm.
play the game, and that would I feel they're really important. And I think the old Blizzard like would be more focused on just selling the game once, such
Mm-hmm.
as Diablo or StarCraft, and instead try to maintain like relations to your customers, the gamers, like should owe it to them that they bought your game and should
Mm-hmm.
treat them well. So I would take community suggestions and move that up in the priorities list. So maybe like assign people to handle that kind of stuff because I know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the community voiced concerns, like for feedback that are given, don't really. They say like they look at everything, but it doesn't really feel that way sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
nothing's done about it. So I'm not sure if it's like their bureaucratic ways or something, or just they don't really care about it. But that kind of stuff needs to be addressed. For tournaments, it seems pretty okay the way they're setting it up. Maybe it could be better. I know a bit better, but like for example, I know in the LCS, they region lock it, don't they? So that way,
Mm-hmm.
like, the teams can't just come over and be like, hey, K, thanks, bye, and then go home with a lot of cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like they're addressing the tournaments or the WCS aspect pretty well nowadays. Just more so, they need to grow their game, like maybe offer a discount on the game itself. I don't know, because a free to play would be maybe too drastic for a game like StarCraft, but having it set around say now isn't it like $40 and $40 something like that or 30 whatever. It could be less when it goes on sale, but normally it's still a really big chunk of money for let's say someone who is skeptical about getting the game even to
Mm-hmm.
invest that money into something they potentially wouldn't like. And um, so maybe like lowering the game cost or
Mm-hmm.
uh, but also of course catering the game more to people who aren't serious about it, who aren't going to play like day job in the tournament, and make them have fun. Like StarCraft is really lonely on Battle.net. One of those concerns. Just, I'd say listening to the community would fix a lot of the issues, and then we'll go from there
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I think number one goal I would do is listen to the community and try to implement the changes. They're logical.
Yeah, definitely. And did you have any kind of changes like balance wise that you would make?
Um, well, I used to think Mothership Core Vision was too high, but it's gotten less now, so that's
Hmm.
nice. Just Protoss is too strong, and they're taking steps in fixing that. And one of the frustrating things to some players on the ladder is like they feel Protoss not only is really strong in the strategies they can choose, but also mechanically it's the easiest. So when you put two things like that together, they just feel like they're getting gypped by balance. So to me, I don't really feel too much balance wise about Protoss or negatively. Just
Hmm.
should take. Of course, balance is a really intricate and delicate thing. So you can't really just fine tune something really a lot, and then damn, next day all the Protoss are losing. That kind of stuff shouldn't happen, and they don't do that, so that's good. And taking small steps to fixing it is nice. And otherwise, I feel balance is pretty fine.
Hmm.
Blizzard usually does a good job balancing their game. I feel
Yeah.
just maybe some minor tweaks with like carriers or disruptors, that kind of
Hmm.
smaller kind of things would be nice, but you gotta do it slowly. Though you should do it. I mean, if I were Blizzard, wouldn't just ignore it completely and say we're listening to you guys and then not do anything about it.
Hmm.
Which I guess goes back to the listening to the community part. Because people in the community really they care a lot more about the game than it seems from like the business guys at Blizzard, for example, who just want to sell their game. Um, yeah, that's about it.
No, what you were saying is actually it makes a lot of sense of just kind of I guess heating the community that's in a lot of ways kind of making the game like what it is. Yeah, it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. I guess we can just kind of move on to the next topic, which is a little bit more about your own gameplay. Um,
Oh, great! I'm more excited now.
yeah, yeah, awesome. So, I mean, like, could you kind of did this in your application video, but could you kind of reiterate, like, what do you feel are your strengths and weaknesses in your gameplay, either specific to any of the particular matchups or just generalized across all of them?
Well, as far as the matchups are concerned, I feel my strongest is Berserk. Um, that ties in with my gameplay. I feel in my
Mm-hmm.
gameplay, I usually try to go for more unseen or unheard of strategies. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I in Wings of Liberty, there was a player called Freaky on NSD chats who I really liked him, or like Xenex Line, people like that, or
Mm-hmm.
they play really oddly and excuse me, and they try to like take their opponents by surprise
Mm-hmm.
or catch them off guard and doing unorthodox things that puts people out of their comfort zone is the way I approach the game. So I try to um, I don't because this also ties into the not being able to practice much part as much as like someone who puts 10 hours a day or even like 5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I play the standard style that they're used to, just I'm putting myself in their comfort zone, and they have more experience doing so. So I see no
Mm-hmm.
reason why I should do that, and that's why I play in different style. And also I try to metagame my players. So I'm playing the players, not the game. I don't think. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's not that good, but I feel mostly it's reliable, especially because I'm in a setting where I'm only playing against any player, not Asia every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would play players based on on their tendencies and go for things that are good versus like the biggest variety that I can um, expect to encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, versus Hitman, I studied all of his openers, and I was able to beat him pretty convincingly because
Mm-hmm.
my build just like countered his because I already knew what he was doing as soon as the game started, or the first 2 minutes. That's it. So playing the player and going for stuff that people aren't familiar with. For example, versus Jack G, even the replay sentence was two-base roach drop, which looks like a two-base muta, and he obviously wasn't too savvy about that, and
Mm-hmm.
I managed to beat him on that map. So just that kind of stuff
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is what I
and I actually want to ask, like, these days, I feel like we don't really see a lot of special preparation for either a specific player or like
prefer.
for particular maps or something, like picks against a particular race. Like, you don't really see like those kind of specialized builds come out that much. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure if that's just because of like laziness or
Mm-hmm.
apathy, but For example, I feel I'm not gonna try to like call anyone out, but watching WCS America and watching Select play TVZ, he does exactly the same things you would find on his match history. Uh, but I think that's because he just practiced on ladders. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like too rigid for me. I would never do that, which is why I stopped laddering on my own name anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Preparation, I feel Koreans are really good at that in pro league, let's say, but that's like their job, so
Yeah.
they have to. And otherwise, I really feel some players don't really prepare much or adequately enough. Say some of like hide your match histories or
Mm-hmm.
how to play against the tendencies of your opponent. That kind of.
Yeah, and it sounds like you feel like that is one of your strong points, is that you're actually one of the few players that actually do the kind of preparation and
I try to as much as I can.
yeah. So I mean, what kind of like I know that you kind of gave the example of say Hitman, but I mean, do you feel like there is more difficulty in say like StarCraft 2 versus like I don't know Brood War or whatever, where it's more difficult to create like these specific builds that just counter whatever someone's doing or like their sort
Well,
of
I think
playstyle?
I think since StarCraft 2 is easier mechanically,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to do something like that, and there's more units. I feel so definitely creative or being creative
Mm-hmm.
helps you. Um, I'm coming up with new strategies and catching people by surprise. I think like two base immortal pushes that kind of stuff. When they
Mm-hmm.
first came out, was really strong. I that's good for the guys who made them like partying, but oh my gosh, I was gonna think of something else and now I forgot.
It's all good.
But yeah,
Well, okay. Let me just actually move on to a slightly
okay.
different aspect of the question is also what do you kind of think about the map pool right now, especially in I guess in reference to preparing for specific kind of build orders or against different players. Do you
I
like it right now
feel
or?
I feel the previous map pools were better when they had like Belshir or even Akalon.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I feel all the maps are Protoss favorite except Fatalist. Um, like Youngsu, Protoss favorite. Heavy Rain, I feel is Protoss favorite. If they go for like a timing enemy, like Alterzine, definitely Protoss favorite. Uh, what else is oh Polar Knight? They can like really strong timings there too, but
Mm-hmm.
um, that's not as Protoss favorite, I guess. But Frost, which is close position for sure. So every map is Protoss favorite, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which means you have to and especially because now they have mothership core, so you can't all in them in the early stages either. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to, yeah, make do with what you have and try to outwit them, out strategize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is something that I know a lot of players have sort of been
But
complaining about.
otherwise, I feel the map
Mm-hmm.
pool is okay. No big complaints really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they have to change the map before the game comes to plan. I feel they've been doing that since the game came out. I remember when I was playing on like Slag Pits or
Zelnaga Caverns.
Abyssal Caverns,
Oh
yeah,
god.
Zelnaga Caverns,
Delta
like from
quadrants, Delta
yeah,
quadrant, where the
yeah,
Protoss
those
put.
kind of maps were like a lot worse than these kind
Yeah,
of maps, right?
yeah,
So I didn't quit StarCraft because of that or anything.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel the map was okay. Just hopefully they can put more open maps or something. Um, or maps where it's hard to defend a third. That
Hmm.
kind of stuff would favor me for sure.
Yeah, cool. And I definitely agree with you. I mean, I think few things were as bad as say Delta quadrant, where you could literally, as a Protoss player, put a proxy pylon outside of your opponent's base and warp into their natural expansion, right? Like I
Yeah.
think they had like the safe natural expansion. That was kind of crazy. Yeah. So one other thing that kind of came to mind when you were saying like you have all this preparation against different players. You also say that like it's hard for you to mechanically like to keep up and grind out the games to practice against other people. Like, do you not find the preparation like as time consuming also? And like just keeping
Um.
track of like everyone's different playstyle.
Not really. The mental part is pretty easy because I'm pretty good at remembering things. Uh, I think sometimes I
Hmm.
forget though, like when it comes to a test and I panic or something. But that's another thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the mechanics part, as you mentioned, because partly because of time, but also partly because I just can't handle it myself. Like running for hours and hours. I mean,
Hmm.
once in a while, sure, but I don't see myself doing it continuously. So as a result, I would have to focus more on the mental part, and the mental part is not too much, uh, not too taxing of time
Mm-hmm.
aspect. Um, or maybe I say that, but it isn't. Uh, but I don't think it is though. And um, I just try to focus and do it in one go usually, unless
Mm-hmm.
they change. So I can remember most people's playstyles, like if I play them on ladder. I haven't been active recently, so maybe that's changed, but I have to make sure I get more time on that and update everything in my head. But as far as planning for like a tournament, especially if it's an important tournament like the MLG thing, then I wouldn't mind spending a bit of extra time, though
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean I'm gonna think more than I'm gonna play. But sometimes that actually turns out to be the case because I don't have a chance to play it. But that's not because I'm doing that on purpose. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the mental part isn't too much of an issue for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. What about playing against players that maybe you don't have as much experience against? I mean, has that ever faced this created like a problem for you?
Um, well, sometimes if I get unlucky in like the
Mm-hmm.
best of the game, their style just beats my style twice, then I'll be like, oh, what can you do? Now at least I know. But otherwise, sometimes that works in my favor too,
Mm-hmm.
where they get unlucky twice or
Yeah.
something like that. And that's one of the great things about the game is the variety. Um, so if
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing someone from another region or even the same region who do stuff that I'm not accustomed to, I might fall prey to it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely happened before. So, so um, you can't really, you can't just not psychic. I can't
Mm-hmm.
tap into their head and
Yeah.
just assess the whole thing as it is. But just try to play reactively in game because Zerg is like the reactionary. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do, and just pray it works pretty much.
That's pretty interesting. I also kind of wanted to ask, like, do you have any rivals that you like, or any people that you consider rivals, either friendly rivals or maybe on less friendly
Yeah,
terms?
I don't have really less friendly term rivals.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Massa and QXC are the only rivals I'll have. Nowadays, maybe more Pro players. 'Cause I've been losing to Pro tournaments.
Uh-huh.
But those guys have knocked me out of so many tournaments. I'm pretty sure, like, if you add up all the potential things, it would just make me cringe. But mm, yeah, those guys definitely have my number. If you look me up on the Lab website, which keeps track of everything,
Oh
and those
yeah.
guys combined together, they have like 20 map advantage over me. Uh,
Oh
so
man.
definitely them. Everyone else is fair game.
You keep hitting Massa in like all the Canadian like LAN events also,
Hey,
right?
hey, in fact, I'm playing him on Monday for the Total Biscuit uh,
Oh.
team league thing. So just
Yeah.
cats just randomly assign him to a map, which is the map I chose because I thought it was a Zerg map.
Oh.
But yeah,
That's pretty rough, man.
I
Oh.
just can't seem to get rid of him. So I have to think of ways to beat him. In fact, in the last two local tournaments, I lost to him by one map in the finals in both. But in games I won, it seems like I've been starting to uh, read his tendencies more and
Mhm.
prepare builds that work better than ones I have in the past. So I suppose it's just a matter of time until I could overcome the brown hurdle, as I call it. Because he's brown, I always call him brown. Nothing racist or anything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's focus on to the next topic, which is actually your future as a player. So, I mean, you've clearly had the opportunity to kind of play against like a lot of really, really great players. You've beaten a lot of really great players. I have to ask, why don't more people know about you? I mean, like you've literally, as you mentioned before, like you've beaten Polt, you've beaten Minigun, you've beaten Massa, you've beaten Major before. Like, why don't more people know who you are?
I guess that goes back into the not promoting yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stream before, but I've been taking efforts into preparing my streams, such as buying better internet, which
Mm-hmm.
I finally have, and also um, upgrading some PC parts, which I'm in the process of doing. And so far, my SC2 runs really smooth. I can't wait to try it out. So streaming would help for sure. I've gotten good stream numbers, I feel, in the week that I did stream, despite uh, not having too much of a fan base before. I guess
Mm-hmm.
commentating with like a webcam helped get viewers. But yeah, just more self-promotion. I don't know if I would do like YouTube videos and stuff, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
welcome to the idea of coaching for sure, because that's like a way to pay back for your textbooks and whatever. And also have time to develop like um, your talking skills, like teaching, that teaching aspect. And otherwise, I feel the best way for a player to get exposure would be through tournament results.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I've just not been able to get into a BCS. Uh, Local tournaments, I lose to certain parents or like
Mm-hmm.
online qualifiers, even like the QXC.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said this before, but so in two IEM qualifiers, I won stage one without dropping a map. There's two stages, and then I get put into stage two. They don't invite me because I don't have WCS points into stage two, but
Mm-hmm.
I get into it by winning stage one, and then in stage two, in two qualifiers for IEM, Shanghai and Singapore, I beat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's Singapore. Oh, it was New. Sorry, it was New York and Shanghai, and
Mm-hmm.
I beat like all the NA players, like Suppy twice, and, State, Jig, and all these guys. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the losers final, I get QXC and I lose to him in both of the IEMs. So he went to IEM twice over me, unfortunately
Oh man.
for me. But I QXC just qualifies for a lot of IEM. On a side note, so yeah, just uh, one of the reasons why he's like my rival tournament. And
Mm-hmm.
also less opportunities for me to go to tournaments, which hurts me as a player, but the QXC's benefit, of course, or like Masas or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm hoping to change next time. Be more uh, focused, um, more solid, more composed gameplay and preparation, so I
Mm-hmm.
can have more chances to, as you said, uh, get more exposure. So I guess streaming is doing better in tournaments for me. Like I'll have to get into WCS. If I don't know what I'm gonna do. The Challenger qualifier coming up next season.
Yeah, that actually takes me into my next question, which is what is sort of your goal in StarCraft? I mean, is it just to get into WCS Challenger League or like Premier League, or I mean, is it to
Uh,
win a Code S GSL like championship, or what is your like ultimate goal in StarCraft?
it would be nice to win a really big tournament. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really see it in the foreseeable future because of all the Koreans and even NA. I don't really consider myself like someone who can beat everyone and then win a tournament. But I could beat like all of NA players in the series. That's it. Just not
Mm-hmm.
enough to take the whole thing. And so because of that, it would be really nice if I could win a tournament, whether it be in any tournament or not. Like LAN ETS is nice, but it's not like WCS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, just winning a tournament would be really nice. That would be one of my biggest goals. Or staying on like a really nice team would be
Mm-hmm.
nice too. That's easier to do, I suppose, than winning WCS next season. But yeah, right now the biggest goal for the tournament would be to get into WCS because WCS is the tournament the people that made the game made. So
Mm-hmm.
like the tournament's the official thing. So I want to get into that. It's like for example, if you're Kobe and you're not in the NBA because you're in the D League or something. Yeah, I'm Kobe right now. Get into the NBA, break free, grow my wings.
Just gotta do it, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also wanted to ask like would you ever consider going full time into esports maybe after you graduate, or I don't know, taking some time off after or whatever?
Yeah, I would only if my stream was like super popular and I could see a really nice incentive to do so,
Mm-hmm.
or if I was good enough to win tournaments. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't like do it in hopes of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So if it comes to me, then I'll do it. But you never know, and
Mm-hmm.
only time will tell. But I would not like abandon everything, and I can't because
Yeah.
my mom like, oh, you can't do this. So
Yeah.
yeah, if the right opportunities present themselves and I see it, the benefits outweigh the risks, then
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I don't really. like this is real life. This is not a movie. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Cool. And
mostly.
the final question that I always ask everyone who comes on the show is something more just it's sort of a little bit of a repetition of one of the previous questions for you, but where do you see yourself in 2 years ideally? Like, what are you doing both in life outside of esports as well as involved in esports?
Um, in esports, maybe just have more fan base. Like if I stream, just one of the nice things is having people to cheer you on.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to sound like too emotional or something, but that really helps. And like to know people are like there just to watch you. So I want to have like more fans. Uh, I mean, usually you get that when you do well, but I want to have both of that. So it's up to me to like get better and everything. But also, um, well, actually, the also part would I was gonna say would be playing well in the tournaments, but I already said that. So yeah, those two would be nice for esports. And for non-esports, I suppose maybe get a job at Amazon or something. I'm just kidding. I was watching your or read your article.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so just find like a job or work experience and then try to figure out my path in life. Oh my gosh, I'm panicking now. Yeah, just figure
Don't
out what
sweat
you're
it.
gonna do
Don't
in the future.
sweat it.
Just figure that out, and then like how to take care of your family, and like maybe you have to start your own too. You have to worry about that down the road and that kind of stuff. So, um, like I guess in 2 years, it would more so be focused on career path.
Mhm.
As for the non-esports part, and I can see that as uh, well. Like it would be nice to like do that really well, and then uh, do the esports part really well too. So yeah,
Mhm.
ideally I could do both. Maybe who
Mhm.
knows? Hmm.
Well, you still have some time, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I
Yeah.
mean, Henry, that is actually going to conclude the interview. So I hope that you
Oh,
enjoyed it. I know I actually really enjoyed hearing your thoughts on a lot of those things.
it's my honor to be here. I was yeah, I wasn't I had to win the qualifier, so
Hmm.
I had some plans for that day when it was
Hmm.
very much so like the first qualifier, but I had chose to stick it out and play
Hmm.
in the qualifier because I really want to be here, like talk on the show and also play in the tournament, prove myself,
Hmm.
etc. etc. So really enjoying my interview as well. So well, only looking forward to watching like the other guys maybe, and as for the real tournament itself, looking forward to that definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, people, I have to say, like, a lot of people are considering you one of the big favorites for the tournament. So, guys, go find out why tomorrow, when we actually cover all of Hendralist's 3 games, one from each one of the 3 matchups, and you'll kind of see why Hendralist is such a great player and why a lot of people are considering him possibly one of the favorites to actually take the Invitational. But also, I did want to say, like, now's the times for shout outs. So if you want to tell people where can they find you at or Team Complexity, and I will note that all of these links will actually be over in the Twitch chat if you're watching this live on Twitch, or it'll be just down below the video if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, so if you're watching, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. It means you just stuck through and now you know more about me. So yeah, you can follow me on social media like at facebook.com/Hendralist or Twitter at Cole_Hendralist or Twitch/Hendralist underscore. Yeah, those three would mainly be it. More so Twitter. I'm really active on that. So if you want to like ask me anything or talk to me, definitely do it on that. You can follow my team at Complexity Live on Twitter too. Complexity is really nice. Yeah, and yeah, I guess that's about it.
Be sure to
You,
catch
you,
him. Yeah, be sure to catch him, especially if you're gonna start streaming. Right? You made the promise now in the interview
yeah.
that you're getting everything ready for it.
One of the reasons I only streamed for a week was
Hmm.
because that was actually around the time WCS qualifiers was coming up, so I didn't want to
Oh.
expose too much. And also, not getting into it put me into like depressed mode, so I stopped streaming. Like,
Uh,
well, Yeah, okay.
All right, but you
But
promised you're getting everything ready to do it again, so
yeah, I
I'm
promise.
gonna be on the lookout for it. All right, everyone,
No
go
fingers
follow.
crossed.
Guys,
No, no,
that
no,
means they get
I
to
think I will. I will. Yeah.
Okay. That
Uh,
means everyone has to go follow you over on Twitch, and then if they don't see you streaming, they have to tweet at you. So
oh,
go do that, guys.
putting me on the spot here, but yeah.
All right, but hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode of Breaking Out. Once again, this has been the Thursday episode, the interview episode with Hendralisk Kazang, and hopefully, am I pronouncing your last name right, by the way?
Oh, you're
Zang.
saying it like the white people way.
Oh!
But everyone does that, so it's okay.
Oh no, no, correct me, please.
I think, okay, in Chinese, the ZH
Uh-huh.
sound is more like a J.
Jang?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
more natural than
Okay.
just saying like Z.
Zang. Yeah. Okay, awesome.
But I know what you mean, so it's okay.
No, I know exactly how you feel. I mean, I have like an Indian name, so I have like
I
the
know.
weirdest pronunciations of my name. I think I've gone to a Starbucks before, and I literally told them like my name is Ravi, and they wrote down Boben, B-O-B-E-N. I'm like, how did you
What?
get that?
Really?
I'm like, oh my god, that is like the most ridiculous thing I have had happen with my name. But anyways, guys, this again has been Breaking Out. If you guys enjoyed this show, please consider following the channel over here on twitch.tv/FearDragon64, where we actually broadcast all of the episodes live on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And of course, also the YouTube videos are actually out the same day, usually around 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In fact, we're so magical and mystical that I think on the Saturday episode, which is normally longer than an hour, the YouTube video for the episode comes out before the episode is actually done broadcasting. Oh, it's not live! As people suddenly realize. Oh my god, I get so many people commenting about like, oh, this isn't live? How are you typing in the chat while also interviewing
That's
people?
multitask.
I'm just like, look, the real reason is because if I was in the Invitational, I have the APM that would just beat all of you. That's the reality of it. With my Bronze League logic. But guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that you all decide to tune in tomorrow. It's been an absolute pleasure, and be sure to be back also on Saturday as well, because that is the day that we're going to actually get to sit down once again with Hendralisk and with him on camera again, and actually get his opinions and his detailed thoughts on the actual game. So that is a great day to learn more about StarCraft, especially unorthodox styles, which are honestly the most fun styles. So we'll see you all guys tomorrow, and have a wonderful Thursday. Take care.
Okay.